Find something ridiculously heavy, a couch, a box of books, whatever. Now drag it across the floor. Feel that? That stubborn, grinding resistance pulling back against you every single inch? That invisible enemy fighting your muscles is friction, and it was the single biggest problem early humans had to solve. For most of human history, if you needed to move something heavy, you carried it. Or you dragged it. Or you gathered your entire tribe and dragged it together. That was literally it. Dragging was the state-of-the-art technology for thousands of generations. It was brutal, inefficient, and burned through endless calories every single day. Every surface caught on every bump, turning simple jobs into exhausting marathons. Humanity was desperate for a shortcut, but surprisingly, it didn't come quickly. Before we could invent a fix, we had to rethink how motion actually worked. Now, here's the twist. The wheel feels like it should be the very first thing we ever invented. Circles are everywhere. You'd think some clever caveman would look at a rolling log and go, "Aha! Light bulb moment!" Right? Nope. In reality, the wheel arrived embarrassingly late. Stone tools go back over 3 million years, but the wheel? It's only about 5,500 years old. Before anyone made a simple wheel, humans had already mastered complex crafts like weaving cloth, building permanent villages, starting full-scale agriculture, and even developing written language. In the grand timeline of human genius, the wheel was practically a modern invention. So the real question isn't who invented it. The real question is, why on earth did it take us so ridiculously long? Part of the mystery comes down to evidence. Early wheels were made of wood, and wood rots. A stone axe can sit in dirt for 100,000 years just fine. An ancient wooden wheel? Gone in a few centuries. Our only clues come from super rare, oxygen-starved bogs that accidentally preserved the wood. Archaeologists have to dig deep into wet, muddy marshes to find these preserved treasures. The absolute oldest wooden wheel ever found was discovered in 2002 in the Ljubljana marshes of Slovenia. Dated to around 3130 BC, it was a solid ashwood disc mounted on a strong oak axle. This wasn't some clumsy prototype. It showed advanced master-level carpentry skills. Without these lucky swamp conditions, we might never have known how advanced they really were. When scientists analyzed the wood grain, they realized something stunning. This 5,000-year-old survivor was just one piece of a global tech boom. Between 3,500 and 3,000 BC, wheel technology suddenly exploded everywhere at once. We see evidence popping up in Mesopotamia, across European forests, and on the Asian steppes. In Poland, archaeologists found a clay pot carved with a tiny four-wheeled wagon design, proving wagons existed decades before the oldest actual wooden wheel we've unearthed. These ancient cultures were actively trading goods and animals over huge distances. Historians have argued for decades about who invented it first. But because of trade routes, brilliant ideas spread like wildfire across the entire network. Once the concept existed anywhere, everyone adopted it immediately. It transformed trade forever. But building one was a whole different story. So why was the engineering so hard? Let's take a closer look. Here's the secret. A rolling log isn't a wheel. Humans rolled sleds over logs for ages. You roll forward, pick up the log that falls behind, run to the front, and repeat. Tedious. The real genius invention is the wheel and axle system. You have to drill a perfectly straight hole through the dead center of a wooden disc. If the hole is even a millimeter too tight, friction jams the axle instantly. If it's too loose, the whole wheel wobbles right off the cart. It requires unbelievable precision, Smooth, straight, and perfectly round. One small mistake under a heavy load, and the whole wheel snaps in half. Imagine failing over and over again for hundreds of years until you get it right. The wheel wasn't just a vision. It had to wait for metal and fine woodworking tools. Before wheels carried heavy wagons, humans practiced on a much smaller scale. Pottery. Around 3500 BC in Mesopotamia, potters started spinning clay on a stationary central pivot. The potter's wheel actually came before the vehicle wheel. Spinning a light clay pot on a smooth table is way easier than hauling grain across rocks. It gave ancient builders a safe lab environment to test how rotating axles worked. They learned how to reduce friction, carve smoother pins, and balance spinning discs. Once they mastered light pottery loads, they scaled the machinery up for brutal weight. Pottery workshops were basically the high-tech research labs of the ancient world. They literally flipped the potter's wheel on its side and mounted it onto a cart. It wasn't a random lightning bolt idea. It was step-by-step engineering. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic Ocean, a massive historical puzzle was unfolding. The Maya, Aztec, and Inca built gigantic empires without ever using transportation wheels. And it wasn't because they didn't know how. Archaeologists found ancient Mexican toy dogs on wheels. They understood the concept completely, so why didn't they build giant wagons? Because they had zero large draft animals. No horses, no oxen, nothing to pull a cart. Llamas could carry light backpacks, but try making a llama pull a 2-ton wagon? Good luck. Plus, rolling a heavy cart up steep mountain stairs is dangerous and useless. A wheel is only useful if you have flat ground and strong animals to pull it. They made a totally rational choice. For their steep mountains, foot travel was better. It proves obvious inventions are only obvious if your environment actually needs them. Back in Eurasia, the wheel took a dramatic upgrade. Someone carved out the middle and added spokes. Spoked wheels cut down massive weight while keeping maximum structural strength. Suddenly, slow farm carts transformed into high-speed military machines, chariots. It was the ultimate Bronze Age weapon, allowing archers to strike fast and retreat instantly. Egyptian, Hittite, and Mycenaean armies dominated battlefields starting around 1600 BC. In Shang Dynasty China, chariots became the supreme symbol of royal and military power. Owning a chariot back then was like flexing a hypercar today. It was the fastest, most expensive technology on the face of the earth. Chariot warfare completely reshaped how human empires fought and expanded. A tool made for grain was now a weapon for conquest. And here is where the wheel's story takes a dark, familiar turn. A peaceful invention meant to carry crops was almost immediately weaponized for violence. It allowed kings to project military power faster than anyone could run away. Centuries later, in medieval Europe, it got even grimly darker: the breaking wheel. The same rotating wooden disc was used as an instrument of torture and public execution. It's shocking how the exact same mechanism can be used for progress or cruelty. Whenever humans invent something powerful, we always find a way to test its limits. It's a pattern that repeats with almost every major technological breakthrough. But thankfully, that dark chapter isn't where the wheel's story ends. Because the wheel's true purpose was always about moving forward. Underneath all the chariots and history, the wheel kept doing what it was made for: rolling. Every gear inside every clock, engine, and machine is just a wheel in disguise. Bicycles, trains, high-speed sports cars, they all rely on that exact same ancient axle idea. Even the NASA rovers currently driving across Mars use direct descendants of Bronze Age wheels. So next time you roll a suitcase smoothly through an airport terminal, or comfortably push a shopping cart through the grocery store without breaking a sweat, remember that it took humans 3 million years of stone tools to figure this out. One brilliant craftsperson bored a hole in wood, slid it on a stick, and spun it. In that one magic moment, the dragging finally stopped. The rolling started, and it never, ever stopped again.